We all watch the Pro Grand Tours and wonder what it would be like to do it ourselves. After 21 days of racing, with massive attacks and riders unexpectedly cracking, we see pictures of the toll it takes on riders' bodies. However, us everyday cyclists rarely get the opportunity to experience what it takes to complete 3 weeks of hard racing. Fortunately, I recently completed the Chasing Yellow Tour, racing 21 stages in 23 days and finishing in the GC Top 10. Although the stages were only about an hour, it was nonetheless absolutely grueling, requiring me to wake up every day with varying degrees of fatigue in my legs and give it my all. I'm here to share 5 key lessons I learned that will increase the chances of you winning your next race. You could probably guess, but I am a die-hard cycling fan. I watch almost every stage of the 3 Grand Tours and the Tour de France Féminines. The most frustrating thing is watching deep into the tour as a select group is left on the final climb and a big attack is launched. Your favorite rider looks up as the gap increases, looks down at his bike computer, and doesn't respond to the attack. Watching at home, we think, it looks like you are just letting him go. Why? After racing for 3 weeks, I found myself in the very same situation and realized why this happens. In stage 15, after going all out 3 times up the Innsbruck KOM, and stage 14 the day before, my legs felt as I had just finished leg day at the gym. I felt fine riding tempo, but once the pace lifted, my legs were screaming they had nothing left and couldn't increase the pace. Typically, I can sustain 180 heart rate for a 20-minute effort, and we see here my heart rate is fine at 171, pushing my tempo pace past the halfway point on the grade. However, once Duval decides to lift the pace, I try to respond thinking I should be able to cover this, but my legs just say, nope, we can't kick any harder. And this feeling matches what we see sometimes in the Pro Tour. We have seen the great Tadej Pogačar be just seconds off the yellow jersey in the first half of the Tour de France, and then famously calling in the radio during stage 17, saying, I'm gone, I'm dead, and losing minutes. Although limited research is available on how going above your comfort zone in week 1 may affect you in week 3, some research suggests that accumulated fatigue affects both the maximal and submaximal endurance of riders, and power output and VO2 max may be around 10% lower after completing 21 days of racing compared to before. Not only were power numbers down, but heart rates tended to be higher compared to earlier on. In short, your body is in a state of short-term overtraining. Having experienced this firsthand, I will never question why the pros don't respond to every attack, even if they are letting time slip away. It quite simply comes down to the body's psychological response to chronic training stress over 3 weeks. One of my favorite things to tell teammates is, plan on the day not going according to plan. Over so many races, there will be moves you miss and think you have no shot of getting back to the group. Conversely, you may find yourself unexpectedly ahead of stronger riders or having great legs and dropping riders you thought were impossible to beat. When you have a great performance, make sure to enjoy it, but realize that feeling won't last forever. If you took a big stage win or contributed the most points to your ZRL team, make sure to celebrate that moment. But if you miss a key move, don't be discouraged. It can be easy to fall off a wheel and think, well, that's it, I'll just mosey on to the finish line. Instead, you must put your head down and think, what can I do from here to finish strong? Often, that means continuing to push, even if the result won't be what you hope for. The Queen stage in Chasing Yellow is a perfect example. Right out of the start pens, a huge move went and I was left behind. I could have easily just sat back thinking, well, that's it for me, losing massive time. But instead, I kept putting the power down, and luckily found an ally in another GC rider who missed the move. This resulted in the 2 of us catching back onto the lead group on the Epic KOM and saving our GC positioning. Although in this instance, continuing to push had a great result, often it will come down to just limiting the losses. But you never know the impact continuing to push will have, and I guarantee you, you will feel better for fighting on at the end of the day. Before I share my favorite lesson, one quick update on the channel to share. I am hoping to return to a regular release of new videos shortly. I've been a bit slow of late with more work obligations, have been searching for a new job, and increased my cycling training. Throughout 21 races, there was no doubt multiple times I felt the pace was too hard and my legs were ready to call it a day. This happened not only on the big climbs, but also on the flats. With so many riders having different strengths and strategies, often I found myself covering multiple attacks or going all out just to hang onto a wheel. This is where what I refer to as my 5-second rule comes into play. What is a 5-second rule? Well, anytime I'm hurting, I tell myself I can keep pushing for just 5 more seconds. Chances are, if you are hurting, your competitors are as well, and they may need to back off the pace. You would be shocked how often this rule saves a day. It will not only give you a better chance to stay with the lead group and sprint for the win, but you may find it helps push you towards setting a new power PR over a certain time frame. Pick a random rider from the pro peloton, and you will likely find only a few Grand Tour wins to their name. Maybe 5 or 10 plus if they are truly great. This means that any rider will win less than 1% of the races. With such low odds, if you have an opportunity to win, you must commit to it. If the front group has been whittled down after an all-out effort over a climb, and you are still there, you must start thinking, this is one of the few shots I have to win, how can I do that? Maybe a big attack is launched 5K from the finish line. Don't sit back and think someone else will close it for you. Instead, you must tell yourself, I made it this far, I'm not going to let it slip away. Even though the legs are hurting, just think about all the hard work you have done up to this point. In this case, I survived a big 5-minute effort over the Temple KOF, multiple attacks, and was able to distance the 2 strongest riders in the last kilometers, and knew this was my best shot for a win against strong competition. When it came down to the sprint, I gave it everything I had. Although I came in second, there was nothing to be disappointed by, as I knew I gave it everything I had left. Commit to winning enough, and you will eventually stand top the podium. Knowing your competition is key to gaining that extra edge. It might not help in a random race, but if you are competing in the Zwift Racing League, you will likely see many of the same riders each week. Knowing when and where your competitors might make a move will give you a leg up. Maybe you know someone always tries to form a breakaway after a sprint battle, or someone else always attacks at the base of a climb. Knowing this will allow you to be prepared to follow the attack and get the most draft possible. Failing to know your competition will leave you surprised and missing the move. Here, I was not prepared for an attack, and the rider carried so much speed, I was left struggling to get on his wheel. Although I have similar power numbers to the attacker, I didn't have the legs to close the gap alone. If I had been straight onto his wheel, I may have hung on them. Not only can it help you jump straight onto attacks, but it will also let you know when to not waste energy following moves that won't stick. Identifying key tendencies in race situations like this won't magically allow you to win every race, but it will provide a marginal benefit that gives you a better chance to win. Experiencing this awesome challenge set up by the Chasing Tour has helped me learn these 5 lessons that will stick with me forever. Hopefully, through my suffering, you have gained something to benefit you in your next race. Thank you for joining.